Welcome to this special edition of the Green Wave Report, the on SI Tulane way too early prognostications. Welcome, I'm Doug Joubert, along with you, reporter Colin Cummings, and we'll be talking a little bit about how we think the Green Wave are going to do this year. Now, there's been all sorts of predictions, Colin. You've probably seen them online.
I
If
have.
you want, you can list them off if you want, but we know Athlon says 8-4.
Hmm.
This is Facebook guy and his son, Garage
Yeah.
Game Day Sports, and they said anywhere from 6-6 to 9-3. In fact, we got some AI involved.
Yeah.
ChatGPT picked it, and that's what that looks like. And then Claude got in on it, and that's what that looks like. And then Gemini, which sort of cheats because they pull from ChatGPT, Claude, and Google. So Gemini
Yeah.
sort of pulls from all those. And you notice all of them say the same thing, 9-3.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say I think that's the most common record that Tulane has been given by every major outlet I've seen is I think it's a safe record to go for when you have the strength of schedule that they have and the situation that they're in. Um, but I'm a bit more optimistic. I'm a bit more optimistic.
I'm sort of that kind of guy too. Now, we will be posting those infographics, the ones we just showed on the screen from Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini. We're going to post them on our website, so when you read the print version of the video, you get a better idea of a better look at what they're looking like. Let's look at big challenges. Okay. So offensive line play, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge for Tulane this year. And the reason I say that is because a lot of shuffling going on in spring. You and I both saw that. And it seems like they have a little ways to go before they get solid. And, so I think that is the biggest challenge for Tulane. How about you?
For sure. And, to piggyback off of that, the line's going to have to stay healthy as well. We saw a couple of injuries in practice. But for me personally, the biggest challenge is definitely going to be the quarterback play. You just lost Jake Retzlaff. He was signed. You signed Zion out of Houston. He's been here for a while. He's been playing all camp. But it still feels like there's not necessarily an identity yet with Tulane and which quarterback they want to go with. So I think come, fall camp, I believe that they'll have to go in there with a decent idea of what they want and just kind of see how the cards fall. But I feel like some of these questions can't be answered, unfortunately, until week one.
Yeah. Big strength for Tulane. You want to go first this time?
Absolutely. Biggest strength for me is the returning slash transferring secondary that they've retained slash gained this past offseason. The AAC conference championship game MVP. Jack Chinshu is returning. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this name. You've pronounced it for me before, but Isaiah Shine, is that how you
Isaiah
pronounce it?
Shine. You got it, baby. You
Isaiah
got it.
Shine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Isaiah Shine, he was second among DBs last year on Tulane in solo tackles. We love a guy who's reliable in the open field, and then a promising transfer from Texas Tech and Macho Stevenson. This is going to be, I think, one of the strong points of Tulane as a whole, especially their defense. Uh, and it's going to be what absolutely wins them most of their games this
I,
year.
I agree. I think you're going to see more defensive play, and I think the strength of Tulane this year is the defense. We're talking front line all the way to the back. Linebackers are strong, 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 strong this year. And the defensive front, we saw what they did to the offensive line in the spring. This
Yeah.
is a solid defensive front, even though and we talked about it actually on the article we published on Monday morning. They don't return a starter. Not one starter is
Hmm.
returning on the defensive front. So I think we're both on the same level, right around there. Let's go ahead and go start looking at the games. First off, Duke. Last year, they were 9-5. They ended up being the ACC champion. Now they've
Hmm.
lost Darian Mensah and star wideout Cooper Barkate. Both of those went to Miami. They have a
Hmm.
solid defensive backfield. And the prediction for the season, though, by most prognosticators, is 6-6 to 7-5. And in fact, most prognosticators are saying that Tulane will lose this game because it's at Duke. I don't agree with that. There's too many variables. I may
Yeah.
change my mind after fall practice, but I see a Tulane win. And as we just talked about, I think the defense is going to show it up. in this game, especially.
Absolutely. And the toughest thing to do in college football, I feel like, is win on the road. It's so hard to win in a hostile environment, but one thing, like we just said, that transfers no matter where you play, home or away, is your defense. And the fact that Tulane has such a strong defense, I feel like is what's going to carry them over the edge in this game, especially since Duke was so inconsistent last year. You're going through ups and downs. You lose to Tulane at the beginning of the season, but then you go on, you lose against Virginia, but then you get a rematch in the ACC championship due to some really weird tiebreaker rules.
Yeah.
Um, but you win the ACC, you are the ACC champion. But I feel like that was just lightning hitting once. I don't think it'll strike twice. I think Tulane can come out of here with, I think it'll be a tough one possession game, but I feel confident they'll win.
Next game, Tulane's at home. Their home opener against South Alabama, which last year was 4-8. And they're really not looking to improve much. Most prognosticators are picking up at 5-7. Now, EA Sports did list the USA quarterback Bishop Davenport as one of their top 25 quarterbacks in the group of 6 QBs. I don't know if you saw that, but I'm not a video game guy, but that's interesting that they would pick him like that.
Uh, I
Uh,
mean, it's interesting for sure. I mean, I don't know how much you're really saying by saying you're a top 25 quarterback in the group of six out of a ton of schools. Mind you, you're not even considering P4. So, I mean, yeah, congratulations to him, but
yeah,
it doesn't really ring any alarm bells in my head.
yeah, same here. This is the first home game for Tulane. I think
Absolutely.
by this time the offense will start to click. I'm thinking a 2 or 3 touchdown Tulane win on this game.
Yeah, 100%. I think Tulane will dominate, like you said, home opener against a really weak South Alabama side. This is and like I said before, this is really their chance to get clicking on offense. Unfortunately, in my eyes, I just don't see the offense clicking as much as you do this year. I think they're going to struggle a bit at first, even though this is their game to do it. I still think they're going to struggle. I think this is going to be a game that they win, but it's going to be a frustrating sort of win where at the end of the game, you're sitting there, man, we should have won that game like 28-7, but
Yeah.
instead you're winning 13-3. So it's like, it's going to be one of those. I feel like it's going to be defensive heavy. But I hope, Tulane's offense proves me wrong. I hope the weapons they've added really get clicking with whichever quarterback they go with. But I still think Tulane pulls it out. 2-0.
Green Wave back on the road in week number 3. They go to Kansas State. And K-State had a roller coaster every year last year. And went 6-6. They have a new head coach now. It's their former offensive coordinator, Colin Klein. I love his first name, even though he misspells it. And their returning quarterback, Avery Johnson. And really, they're expecting a lot. The Wildcats most people are out of the Wildcats this year. But I just wonder, how fair is it that K-State gets a new head coach who is their offensive coordinator, and they're predicted to win around 9 games. And meanwhile, most prognosticators like Athlon and those others are saying 7 or 8 for Tulane. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see how a head coaching change boosts this team up 3 wins. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Um, it's very strange, especially when considering Tulane's situation and what they've got going on. Because let's be honest, I love Jake Retzloff. He was great for us last year, but it's not like he was, you know, an American Conference juggernaut. Like you were afraid to go against Retzloff's arm. No, it was Messmaker. That's who you were scared of.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, but K-State, I think that it was between this game and another one that we're about to talk about pretty soon that I felt like Tulane would drop very early in the season before they picked it up again. It wasn't this one. I think they still pull this one out, even though it's hard to win on the road. But I think Tulane can pull this out, get to their second straight 3-0 start.
Yeah, for me, I'm thinking this is Manhattan's a tough place to play.
Hmm.
It's a really, really tough place. Most, like you said, most home stadiums are. I think this is a place where Tulane finds its first loss. I'm picking the Wildcats by 7. Next up,
Gotcha.
Tulane's back home again, and they're taking on Southern Miss. Southern Miss has always been a thorn in Tulane's side. And now, after their 7-6 season, their coach moves on. Charlie Huff is left, gone to Memphis. The new head coach is the offensive coordinator from USM, Blake Anderson. But there's a big turnover on the roster. Only one starter is coming back from the 22 they had last year. Most predictions are 6 or less wins. I think there's too much of a turnaround for the Golden Eagles, even though they do seem to play Tulane well almost every time. I'm thinking Tulane by
Yeah.
10 on this one.
Yeah, Tulane shouldn't have trouble with this one with this much turnaround and inexperienced system, inexperienced players with a coach that they haven't spent a lot of time with, um, compared to Tulane, at least with what we're seeing right now. Tulane should not struggle. You're at home. You've had a road stretch over the past 2 weeks. First game back, you should absolutely go there in there and take care of business. Like you said, I can't see this maybe being close. Southern Miss putting up a fight. They always do, but Tulane should come out with this one.
Then at Army, that's after an open week. And that's really important. Tulane will be going to West Point. So that gives them 2 weeks to prepare for an option type game, which Army plays every year. And it's really hard to try to adjust from a passing game, which is what almost everybody in college does. But we do have one later on in the schedule that is an option team. But to all of a sudden have to switch like that, it really does make a difference. Last year, Black Knights did not do well, even though they
Mm-mm.
upset Kansas State in the beginning of the year. They went 1-3 the first 4 weeks. They finished strong. They crushed UConn in the Fenway Bowl at the end of the year. And by the way, that's interesting. Army doesn't have back-to-back home games this season at all.
Wow.
Most people are thinking 6 or 7 wins this season. I think having that open date helps Tulane's defense get a chance to prepare for that ram it down the throat style of offense the Black Knights play. I think it's going to be close. It usually is, but I'm going to say Tulane by 3.
I think this is where Tulane hits their first speed bump. This is their first loss of the season for me. You're going
Okay.
to West Point, um, coming off of a 2 week rest, but I Army's tough, man. They always have some fight in them, and I think this is just the bump that kind of gives Tulane the reality check that they need, especially heading into next week's game.
Which is Memphis in New
Hmm.
Orleans. And this is where Charlie Huff, he steps in. 21 of last year's 22 starters are gone from the Tigers. Memphis finished very weak last year,
Very.
and they including their loss to Tulane. But Huff is really familiar with TU. I mean, and he spent years at Southern Miss. It's going to be a traditional year for Memphis, probably 6 wins or less. I will say that Memphis will be better, in my opinion,
Hmm.
with his wide open offense. It's just going to take a little while. So I'm picking Tulane by 10 on this one.
Yeah, I think Tulane comes back after a loss to Army. They really, they look at what they have and they figure it out, I feel like. And this is the game to do it against a good Memphis team. But like you said, it's early. It's very early. And I don't think they'll be clicking just yet. This might be one of those one early losses that they get, Memphis, if they hadn't lost it already at this point. Um, but yeah, if this were in Memphis, I probably would have picked Memphis to win. But you're in New Orleans, fresh off of a loss. Tulane pulls this out.
Back-to-back home games. Texas San Antonio coming to New Orleans the following week. Last year's lone American Conference loss was in the
Hmm.
Alamo Dome against Texas San Antonio. The Roadrunners actually finished strong at 7-6, and in fact, some people are picking them to challenge for the league championship. 9 of their games, Texas San Antonio's game, 9 of them are in the state of Texas. They don't leave
Mm.
the Lone Star State until this game toward the end of October. I am glad this game is in New Orleans because I really believe in San Antonio this would have been a loss. This might be, to me, the toughest game of the year for the Wave. I'm on the fence for this one, but I'm going to pick Tulane by 2 because it's in Yulman.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like everybody, with the loss being so fresh of steam that Tulane had, I felt like they had really started to pick up, really started to roll. Um, and then UTSA game. I remember being at work and checking the score and not thinking it was real. I was like, we lost to UTSA. Interesting. Um,
That's a tough place to
so
play.
it is, it is, it is. Um, and so I think this is a game that everybody's going to have a chip on their shoulder. I feel like they're going to be thinking about last year, where that what they could have done better, even though ultimately it didn't matter. They still won the American Championship. They still went to the playoffs. But I think this is just one of those personal things where it's like, okay, but you still got me last year. I have to get my get back. And I feel like this is the time to do it, especially like you said, it's in New Orleans. If this was in Texas, maybe a different story, but we're in New Orleans, gotta take care of business.
Then Tulane's back on the road at Charlotte. And Charlotte was the worst team in the American last year. They had one victory under their new head coach last year, Tim Albin, who, by the way, is one of the classiest guys I've ever talked to. I just like the guy as a person. How good of a coach, I don't know. But as a person, he's really cool. Even with 20 transfer portal additions, not much to expect this season from the 49ers. However, there could be a little bit of a letdown for Tulane. There could be after the high of wanting to beat the doo-doo out of UTSA. But this is the worst in the American. Nobody,
Yeah.
nobody notable in their transfers. I think Tulane by 15 at least.
Yeah, I don't have to spend much time on this one. Charlotte is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the American, unfortunately, and Tulane has not struggled, will not struggle. This should be an easy win for the Wave.
And then Tulane back home, Tulsa. New head coach Trey Lamb got 4 wins out of the Golden Hurricanes last year. Most of those guys are back. So expect a modest improvement. Maybe 6 or 7 victories are expected by most prognosticators. But Tulane's back at home. It's really hard for any team to play at Yulman, period.
Hmm.
And I think the Wave will stay unbeaten in Yulman Stadium. I think they're going to get a 10-point victory over the Golden Hurricanes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tulsa is just above Charlotte
Yeah.
last year. Not by much. They only had one more conference win. They were just lucky that Charlotte went 0-8 and not 1-7. Uh, but yeah, this is another like you're back at home. This is I feel like probably might be easier than Charlotte since you're not playing at the stadium of the away team, but this should be another 15-point win, bare minimum.
And then going to Houston, they're going to play Rice, another first year head coach, led his team to 5 victories last year. And then they played in a bowl game and got absolutely pummeled by Texas State. Scott Abell's team is a second year of running the option. So this is what we were talking about earlier. Army has the option. Now Rice is running the
Rice has the option.
option. And it's going to make it a little bit different, especially since they have a transfer quarterback, Rice does, from Central Florida, Ja'Cory Brown. They've had a hard time defending the pass in the past. Rice has. And
Mhm.
I think the Tulane offense will be definitely clicking by then. I think the passing game will be well established. I think the Wave by 10.
Yes, I think by this point Tulane will at least have a competent offensive scheme when it comes to passing the ball. I think they'll be able to do it reliably and consistently as long as they're not playing a top level pass defense. And if we're going to talk about pass defense, this is not really a good one. They ranked 60th last year against the pass. So not top tier at all. Even then, I don't think it changes much. Tulane comes out with this one.
Then North Texas. Everything has changed there. Their head coach
Hmm.
left to Oklahoma State. He took his record-setting quarterback, Drew Mestemaker, that is. Now, former Troy coach, boy, does that sound familiar for Tulane fans. Former Troy coach Neil Brown steps in. He's retooling, he's rebuilding. Expectations are 7 or 8 wins for North Texas, but it's at Yulman. I think
Yeah,
there's going to be another Wave win, no matter who's running the team or coaching over there at North Texas. I think
yeah,
Tulane by 12.
yeah. I think the Wave win here. I think the thing for the North Texas is they have to give it a bit of time before things start to click again for them. I really like the hire, to be honest with you. I really like Neil Brown. He was an assistant at Texas last year. Um, love the hire, but like you said, I feel like this is going to take some time for them to really get into the groove. It's going to take longer than their first season. Um, and for that reason, the fact that they're playing in Yeoman, this is not going to be easy. They're going to lose by at least one or two possessions.
And then the season finale, South Florida, which I think, in my opinion, is the best American Conference team on Tulane's record this year.
Yes.
Navy is being picked by a lot of teams, but a lot of prognosticators, but Tulane doesn't play Navy this year. So that's an
Hmm.
advantage. The Bulls lost in the Cure Bowl last year, but they were a solid team. Now their head coach leaves. Alex Golish has gone on to Auburn. So there's
Hmm.
a former Ohio State offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline, will be taking the reins in Tampa. So the Bulls are expected to contend for the championship. But again, new coach, lots of praise, unlike Tulane on the
Hmm.
road in Tampa against what is expected to be a solid South Florida team. If the Wave is on an 8-game winning streak, which is what I'm predicting at this moment, the biggest game of the year is this one, and whoever wins hosts the American Conference Championship game. That's what's on the line. I'm thinking upset. I'm picking Tulane by 2.
I respect that. I love the hire that South Florida got. Hiring a guy from Ohio State who has, not just recently, but historically one of the great teams of all time. One of the great programs, I mean, of all time. And to hire at least somebody from over there is always a success in my book when you're looking at the G6. And for that reason, I feel like at this point in the season, USF and Tulane are going to be the two guys. Maybe Navy's thrown in there, maybe Memphis. But I feel like these are your two top dogs, and whoever wins this game, like you said, is going to host the conference championship game. And you pile that on with the fact that USF is able to compete with Tulane in recruiting and transfers. Usually, one of the other teams that either does better or they're right behind us. They're always up there with us, and that's the point. Unfortunately, though, this is a game in Tampa. It's the last game of the season. There's so much on the line. And unfortunately, I don't think they can get it done in this one. This is too tough of an opponent. Offense just can't really find the rhythm that they were having, with the prior games because I feel like three of the four games that they had just played is another really big opportunity to get their offense really rolling if Memphis wasn't the first one. Um, but USF, I feel like they should come out with this one.
So the final tally, you're picking 10-2 for the season. I'm picking 11-1. I am the eternal optimist. I think both of us are very, very optimistic people, to be honest. And any last thoughts you want to throw in there?
Yeah, for sure. I think this season will give us a lot of hope and promise for upcoming seasons for Tulane. I don't think people should be as worried about the head coaching and the defensive coordinator spots, whatever. It's all still in house. They all still believe after talking to some of the coaches. I feel like they still do believe that they can really do what they did last year. Um, However, I think this season ultimately ends. I feel like they go to the conference championship. I had them losing the conference championship. I love that they make it, five in a row, but to win back to back, it's always, always super hard. So I had them losing. Probably it would be at South Florida since they lost out to South Florida. But a great season nonetheless, despite the turnaround that they had last year.
On Wednesday, we choose who we think was the greatest defensive lineman in Tulane football history. And then next week, our regular edition of the Green Wave Report hits at 4 p.m. on our YouTube channel and our website. Make sure you join us. For Colin Cummings, I'm Doug Joubert. Thanks for joining us.